Alright, so we got the 376 spoilers, and this is a pretty exciting chapter. Like, something is happening that I've personally been waiting for, but before we get into it, let me just quickly go over what had happened in the previous chapter, especially since we're coming off of a break week. So we came back to Uraraka and Tsuyu taking on Toga, and eventually got to the point of Toga taking Twice's blood. Most of this chapter was to fill us in on what had happened coming off of the chapter before that, because we saw that Twice had shown up at Gunga going through Kurogiri's portal, because Spinner at the last second was able to activate Kurogiri, and therefore Kurogiri was able to activate his quirk, Warp Gate, on all of the villains and bring them somewhat together, not completely, but closer than what they were before, such as taking Dabi and Toga / Twice to Gunga. And while she was there, she activated Twice's Sad Man's Parade, so that was happening as well. But at the end of the chapter, we found out that Uraraka and Tsuyu were able to get through the portal, and they wound up at Gunga as well, and that's kind of like where that chapter ended, with Hawks All For One, Uraraka, Endeavor, and Dabi like all facing off. And that brings us to this chapter that begins with Ochako and Tsuyu arriving at Gunga, and Toga transformed into Twice, saying that they are too stubborn. She says the young girl who liked to talk about love doesn't exist anymore. So that's in reference to the previous chapter where we saw Toga like backed into a corner. She was kind of forced to use Twice's blood, and she said like, I'll do what I meant to and bet on Spinner. And the narrator said that this basically completed her transformation into a full-fledged villain, which is understandable, but I guess she wasn't before already. The Twice clones are increasing and fighting the heroes. Komoi saves Komori, and Shishido tells them to move the captured villains away from there so Twices don't set them free. Tsuyu realizes that Dabi is also there and wonders if Shoto, Shoji, and the others are okay. So since it's being mentioned that they don't want the clones to free the captured villains, I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. And also, as we mentioned, Dabi is here too. He got transported as well from Kurogiri's Warp Gate quirk. Jiro and Tokuyami go to the two, and Froppy notices Jiro's ear, but she says that this is a low price to pay to fight against the Demon Lord. They say that the army of Twices has the potential to take over Japan, and that Dabi's fire is too hot for them to approach. So yeah, Jiro did lose an ear. I actually kind of forgot about that. But a couple chapters back when she was fighting against All For One, along with Endeavor and Hawks and them, he fired off some kind of air blast or air cannon or something, and it wound up severely damaging one of Jiro's ears, like taking off one of her Ox quirk things that's a part of her quirk. And Dabi has been like activating his own flash fire fist, where he's just like perpetually burning off. And I guess he's on a time limit at this point too, because he's burning himself as well. But first, let's talk about Wondershare Annie 3D. So Wondershare Annie 3D is a pretty straightforward program. It allows you to convert any video you want into a 3D video. And this program is simple and efficient. Like, it's not complicated, it takes no time to learn, and it actually allows you to convert it into two types of 3D videos. The first being a lensless one, which means you don't need glasses to see it. And the second is for like a standard 3D video that you would see in like a headset or something. And you can also choose between horizontal and vertical. Wondershare Annie 3D even allows you to preview it as it's being exported, which is pretty cool. At first I put in my Chainsaw Man review, but then I realized it was probably better to use some stock footage. And the results I got were pretty cool. Like, this is actually 3D and you don't need glasses to see it. So guys, if you're looking for an awesome program to make some cool 3D videos, check out the link in the description because you'll be able to download Wondershare Annie 3D there, or you can also search it on YouTube. But again, link is in the description. Thanks guys. Cut to Dabi versus Endeavor, and he notices that the X on Toya's chest looks like the phosphor that Shoto described. He asks what Toya did to Shoto, and he says that he wanted to take him as a present, but he didn't manage to. Now his goal will never be fully accomplished. So yeah, Phosphor is like one of Shoto's big attacks that we saw him do against Dabi using the Flash Fire Fist. And as for Dabi saying that like he'll never be able to accomplish his goal, he essentially wanted to like drag Shoto's lifeless corpse in front of Endeavor, because he assumes that Shoto is the only thing that Endeavor cares about. So it's like, hey, look, me, your failed creation killed your greatest creation. Like, deal with that. Obviously he wasn't able to do that, so now he'll never be able to fully accomplish it. That's why he at least wants to destroy something important for Endeavor, something that he's trying to protect. An internal monologue from All For One begins with him saying that everything is going according to his plan. So it's definitely not. I mean, things are like working out for All For One at this point for sure, but like I highly doubt this is all according to his plan, because if it is, then his plan is like unnecessarily complicated, with way too many steps and way too many intricate contingencies with the multiple failures that he's had up until this point, and how they're all supposed to correct themselves and lead him to where he ultimately needs to be. I don't know, maybe he's becoming like a self-aware meme at this point. But, you know, it is All for One, and hey, maybe it is all according to his Keikaku. The only thing that could have been better is if Kurogiri went to Gunga instead of UA, because then he would have had a more effective way of moving around compared to the teleportation goo quirk he currently has. So yeah, that's definitely true, and that is where Kurogiri showed up. Like after he broke out of the hospital and started teleporting the villains, he himself wound up at UA, like behind Aizawa, Monoma, and Manuel. And he also conveniently brought Present Mike with him as well. So yeah, this is like definitely setting up their final battle for sure. Like Aizawa and Present Mike are going to be taking on Kurogiri, who is also Shirakumo, because that's like the big goal. They're going to try to, I don't know, talk no jutsu or something, Kurogiri into becoming Shirakumo again, which I think will happen, or at least I hope it does. I'm not saying he's guaranteed to just completely live, but I think before the series is over, Kurogiri will become Shirakumo again, and he's going to help the heroes. All for One then says it's time to go to Tomura and flies off. Hawks tries to taunt him by saying that this means that he lost to the #1 hero, but All for One says that that's nonsense. They face each other and he comments that All for One seems to be in a hurry and that maybe he doesn't trust Tomura. All for One says that Hawks is very perceptive and that it's because for Shigaraki's body to be truly complete, there's still a final step missing. Hawks yells at Endeavor that the plan is over and that his priority is now to stop Toya. Okay, so that's pretty interesting, and I guess we kind of expected something like this to happen, right? Like, while we've been told that Shigaraki's body is complete, there still seems to be at least one more thing that needs to be done before he is, like, in his final form, you know what I mean? Because what we've been seeing definitely isn't that, although it's very close to it. And maybe it requires All for One to, like, physically be there. Like, maybe his quirk Wi-Fi isn't strong enough as to where he can only, like, half and half control him and be the dominant personality. But in order for him to like fully transfer it over and he becomes like the permanent host, then maybe he needs to be in person, or maybe he needs to like make physical touch with him or absorb into him like Cell with the androids or something. But either way, All for One has to do something, and I'm really excited for him to finally leave this place and go to UA, because I assume that he's going to break Shigaraki out of there. Although technically he should already be able to do that since, you know, like I said, Kurogiri is technically battling against Aizawa and the rest of them, unless, I don't know, Present Mike's holding him off and Aizawa and Monoma are still nullifying Shigaraki, but that should be over and Shigaraki should be able to go full power at this point. So maybe he is, and then that's when All for One shows up and, I don't know, completes his body with whatever he needs to do, and then we're gonna finally see full power All for One / Shigaraki. Dabi advances towards Endeavor and says that this time he will fulfill his mission of keeping an eye on Toya. End of chapter. So that's pretty cool. I guess we're going into Dabi versus Endeavor, something we haven't gotten before. And man, maybe Dabi kills Endeavor in this sequence. Like, I've been talking about it for like 2 years now, but Endeavor, I think, has had death flags, and I expected him to die sooner, but this might be it. Because, you know, Dabi did just come off of a loss to Shoto, so I don't know, maybe this is like his big final moment before he ultimately dies to Shoto eventually. Not really sure. I'll go more into this in my review on Friday, but let me know what you think about these spoilers in the comments, guys, and if you liked the video, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.